Hello, everyone. Thank you for coming to my session that late in the day. I want to thank everyone who helped make the camp every year. Ashley, thank you for being such a star this year. And this is the last session of the day. We're gonna have it very informal. It will be, I will be talking about recently started Drupal 7 soft landing initiative. My name is Irina Zaks. I'm a web developer, and I've been building websites and applications for research and higher ed for many years. I'm also co-maintainer of Feeds module and one of organizers of Stanford WebCamp. And in this presentation, I'm gonna do very high-level touch on important topics. We're going to discuss why exactly end of life for Drupal 7 is a big deal and what it actually means. And then we're going to cover very briefly how you make decision tree when you're getting off Drupal 7. And I will do a series of screenshots and try to do a little bit of the live demo. Most information in this presentation is covered in different articles. So you can always go through the more details. And my presentation is meant to be just pointers to, read here, read there. This is an overview. It is not a detailed or technical demo this time. And the most important messages that I want to say, it's a camp presentation, is very informal. And we're gonna have a discussion at the end, which we probably will not be recording, so people can have more freedom to, ask questions and answer questions. So first, very high level overview. Drupal 7 had over 1.2 million sites about 8 years ago, and with the new architecture, lots of sites are staying on Drupal 7 and not moving to Drupal 8, 9, and 10. If half of your base installation is still on Drupal 7, there is a good reason for that. And as Drupal is moving to the new technology and more modern versions that use Composer and many other features, it's becoming very difficult to maintain both legacy and modern version. And end of life means that security updates will not be provided by Drupal security team. So with half of the sites still on Drupal 7, there was a lot of discussions of how to handle responsible end of life. And Drupal 7 soft landing initiative has been started. It has been it's very new. If you haven't heard about it, click on the link, read more. It has been first announced in February at Florida camp. There were discussions at mid-camp a couple of weeks ago. And one of the biggest goals is to provide a roadmap for people who need to get off Drupal 7 before end of life. So responsible end of life means that Drupal community wants to provide resources and tools for site owner, so they are not left behind as security updates are not provided anymore. The page on Drupal Association shows what are the goals and how exactly documentation, resources, and tool will be made available to those who are still on Drupal 7. And this is tentative proposed initial scope for initiative for next 6 months. I'm gonna give a brief overview of tools and flow for an easy upgrade for site builders. This is a general slide that you're looking at when you're beginning to do website update planning. It is not relevant to, it doesn't matter what technology you're using right now. This is just an overview of what you need to pay attention to. So if you're in Drupal 7 today, you need to start thinking where you're going to go next and what is the most efficient technology that you want to use. If you want to stay on open source platforms, 3 top-level choices are WordPress, Backdrop, and Drupal 9. Backdrop and Drupal 9 are the same family. WordPress is also open source CMS and has lots of features that are very similar. There's some people are migrating to completely different solutions, but we're not going to talk about it in this presentation. So these tables give you a high-level overview of specifically different items that you need to review when you're planning your migration. And once you look through your options, now you need to understand your needs. And this is where you're looking at what your site does for you. And this is your possible decision tree. Like, does my site works well for me? If it doesn't, then you're looking at complete site redesign. You're not looking at just an upgrade. And this is I'm not going to cover it in this presentation because we're targeting with Drupal Soft Landing Initiative, we're targeting people who are happy with their Drupal 7 sites. The reason why they're staying on their existing Drupal 7 sites is because the sites work very well for them. And they have no good reason to move off Drupal 7 except that if the system is not going to be supported and has security updates, then it becomes no-go, and they just have to move off. So you look at your site, like if it works well for you, great. Let's check. Do you have a very simple site? Do you have informational site with a couple of pages? Does your site have structured content? If the answer is no, then maybe you don't need to stay with Backdrop or Drupal, as they are more powerful, but also require a little bit more learning and support. Maybe you should move to WordPress. But if you're happy with your Drupal 7 site, you should stay in a Drupal family. This is like kind of rough estimate, like, yes, here are my checks. And if you decide that, yes, you're going to stay within Drupal family CMSs, then this is next table that provides you comparison not only between Drupal 9 and Backdrop, but also what changes from Drupal 7 to Drupal 9 or from Drupal 7 to Backdrop. This table is in one of my posts on Pantheon. There are links on the site, and you can read careful at each item. You have questions about some specific bullets here, I'll be happy to answer at the end. The next step is you want to prepare task lists for your migration, compare tools that you have for each of the system, and estimate cost, not just of migration, but support in the future. So I have this 5-step migration flow: audit current site, set up new site, import content and configuration, and set the theme. These are kind of main big buckets where I'm looking like what takes how much time. Great news, there are tools available for auditing on both, very similarly to Backdrop and to Drupal 9. I'm trying to figure out if there is an easy way for me to share to get out of, okay. Probably no, sorry. Yes, so this is Okay, this is what I'm trying to click. This is what I'm trying to click. So I have an option to, I thought I had it open, but apparently I didn't. So this would be my first step. In my Drupal 7, first step is inside Drupal 7 site. I can install module called upgrade status or backdrop update status. And this would be the screen that I will see for Drupal 9.10. I can also select the version. And this, when I install backdrop upgrade status, I will check manually. And then it will give me list of modules that that are available. The next step, you're setting new site, both in Drupal 9 and Backdrop, you're starting with a new site and you're moving your existing site into the new instance, which is very different from WordPress when you're running update on the same instance. You install core, contrib modules where needed, and then you install either contrib theme or you can install your custom models and custom themes. With Backdrop, you can install things both via UI and via Drush. With Drupal 9.10, you have to have Composer and local dev setup. Step number 3 is you're bringing in content and where possible views. In Backdrop, you can do it using backup and migrate module if you want to work through UI. And this presentation is in some way targeted for site builders more than for developers. If you want to use command line, you can also import database easily and move your files. And then in Backdrop, you click button run updates, and it will begin converting your content and everything that is stored in the database into Backdrop database. And the big part of it is the configuration management for Backdrop and for Drupal is in files. And this is a significant step in this upgrade. For Drupal 10, you also have, which is my favorite part, one-click update. You can connect to your existing Drupal 7 database directly using database connection, and it will also bring in most of the contents of the database. So when you're writing, these are migrations that already exist for Backdrop. You can also write custom migrations for things that are not in the standard migration. For when you're running one-click migration for Drupal, views are not migrated yet. The migration path is not there yet. Hopefully it will be there maybe in the couple of next releases. And then you set your theme, place blocks, and then final touch, you're done. So that is how you can run your update. And next thing that I want to show is, hopefully I'm showing it correctly, one-click Backdrop upgrading using very special module called DB to Drupal to Backdrop migrate, which allows you this is a kind of dream path that Michael Hess once said, well, what I would like to see is I enter my database credential and then something runs in the background, downloads all my modules, imports all my data, imports all my files, and runs the upgrade. And then I just deal with, feel and look. And this is what this module is actually doing. I'm going to switch here. So this is test instance. So if I want to start upgrade, I will enter database information. 11611, no, one. And then I click connect. And then because we all love live demos, it's obviously is not going to work today, but once I connect things, it will run database analysis and it will show me which modules, and I already run it before, and I can see, okay, this has been already downloaded. These modules are in core. And these modules I can download from GitHub, and this are not yet ported. And this to me is a killer app for migration. This is how I would love to run it. The challenge here is that we still have bugs in that module. And so we're looking for help to finalize module fix. There's like 1 or 2 bugs, and it will be available for everyone to run their migrations at their fingertips. Next high level bit and pieces, learning curves. If you're moving off Drupal 7 to Drupal family, Backdrop, or modern Drupal, you do have a lot of learning. Even though site building is very, very similar to Drupal 7 for both applications, configuration management is new great tool that you can learn for both Backdrop and Drupal. And we just had a session about that. And if you're working with more developer-oriented modern Drupal, you would need to be very fluent using Composer. Backdrop introduced new system of layouts, which combines templates and paths. And it does require a little bit of learning, but it is very intuitive and gives you lots of new great features. And that is concludes my presentation part. And I would like to open floor for questions, comments, whatever people would like to know about Drupal 7 soft landing initiative and possible migration path. Okay, everyone is very quiet.
Sorry, I had to change rooms. My husband was making noise. So I do have a question. And maybe that's in the docs, and forgive me because I haven't read through all the docs yet. And so one possible path for someone that is happy with their site, but they don't really need to enter content anymore because there's not really that much going on, or they just maybe do a little bit of tweaks here and there, and that happens sometimes, would be to make basically just a static snapshot and stick it into static hosting. And I was wondering, is that somewhere as a possible, way off? Because I mean, the point is, right, to figure out ways off that make sense, and not everyone actually needs to do that much with their site anymore.
Kristen, it's a great question. It is not in this presentation because it is, if you go through your decision tree, it's like my site, I don't need to keep relationships or anything. So it's like WordPress or static site or something. It is definitely a possible option. The main target audience are people who actually do things with a site. And this is the reason why they're not moving off Drupal 7 because they're actually using features of Drupal that are hard to reproduce in other systems.
Okay, got it. So you're not finding that people are just like, well, I just don't want to do anything with it. It's just sitting there, and I just, don't want to think too much about it. And I make a content tweak here and there, but they just sort of have it more or less parked.
rarely, I didn't have a chance to talk to any of these people yet. And those who are like, oh, we don't really do much with the site, usually move off to either static sites, like not just pure, like they move off to something more simple, more direct, that doesn't require, relationship, doesn't have views, doesn't have like static sites, whatever it is.
Right.
So this is why we don't spend too much time talking about static site generators or HTTP track or how to convert from Drupal to Squarespace or Webflow or whatever it is, because that's covered in lots of there's tons of information on the web about that.
Right. I mean, I guess there are some built-in tools for making a Drupal site static, built in, like Tome and stuff. I don't know if Tome available for D7. I haven't looked in a while. No, it's not. Okay. Well, I know of at least one, but okay, so that's interesting. Would it be useful for the initiative to, as part of the decision tree, just have even a link off to some resources that if like, oh, if these paths aren't useful, if you're kind of going somewhere else, here are some places you might want to look, and it could maybe be grouped out into like, oh, you want to, go use one of the whatever Wix, Squarespace, or I don't know. I'm just wondering if that is helpful or not.
It's a very good question. I don't have like one correct answer. I think that one of the big things about Drupal community is that we would like people who enjoy Drupal sites and appreciated Drupal 7 sites to stay within the Drupal community. And this is where there's a very good point that has been made, like on the Drupal Association page, you don't want to advertise Wix. It's not exactly ideal scenario, because the ideal scenario would be that people who are in Drupal 7 now would stay and remain within Drupal family. That's kind of ecosystem. I think the big thing for soft landing initiative right now is to spread the word and say we would like to preserve ecosystem where Drupal 7 users can find their themselves within the next 3 years, right? We want to make sure that people are not kicked off the island. We want to make sure that people are resettled comfortably. And I always bring up this example of Meyer Library at Stanford. It was identified as seismically unstable. So, was great library, everyone loved it, but people couldn't stay there. So university very carefully found the place for everyone, all the departments, all the books, everything that was in the library. So the hope is that people who are using right now Drupal 7 and are part of big Drupal ecosystem remain in this ecosystem, because we don't want to
understood. But I mean, we are, or at least this presentation, I don't know about the docs themselves. I mean, you are specifically pointing out WordPress as an option, right? So, static or archiving a site that you're not, that you're on Drupal 7, but you're not really doing much, content changes on, seems, something similar to.
It is definitely
WordPress. Yeah.
It's definitely an option for people who say, well, we're not using this site anymore. This site needs to be like, it's history. It goes to Internet Archive, more or less.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Wayback Machine.
Yeah, the hope is that people can spread the word about this initiative, and community can come up with better tools. If people begin talking about it, there's a great podcast that was started recently. I don't know if everyone had a chance to have heard about it. Drupal 7 End of Life by Chromatic.
Yeah, it was good intro.
And people, they keep talking about it. They're coming with good ideas. They're talking to different people. They're trying to create this community spirit, and they are talking about difficult problems. If the problem of moving off Drupal 7 would have been easy, it would have been solved 5 years ago. So it's very clear to everyone that this is a challenging project. So the first part is to begin talking about it, begin talking, finding solution, trying to find a good way to help people off the system that will be insecure while remaining in Drupal ecosystem. And as a big fan of Backdrop CMS, I have to say that I feel that Backdrop is a part of Drupal ecosystem. It's my theory that I already expressed is like there was one big branch that is called Modern Drupal, and then there's another big branch that is called Backdrop CMS, and it's addressing different audiences. Developers made out of Drupal 7 what they wanted to make. Site builders made out of Drupal 7 what they wanted to make. So, altogether, it's still, two big branches of, nice trunk, which was called Drupal 7. That's my vision from the site.
I have another topic that I'm wondering if any of the web, I don't know, agency people or, freelancers may have run into. So I know of a scenario where some people are going to basically firewall their Drupal 7 and just lock it down. And then they are going to use static on the front end because they still want to actually use all the features. And they're not necessarily even sure where to go or what to do. And they want to buy themselves time to figure it out. So to reduce their risk, that's the plan, is just to, isolate and reduce the amount of people who, and this is obviously only works for certain sites, right? It has to be pretty much a, a brochureware type scenario, or, not too many dynamic features and stuff. But I'm just curious if any other people have had that approach be pitched either as an agency or as a client of like, oh, well, can't we just lock it down and then just show the front end as a static site, and we kind of get to not worry about end of life right now, and we'll just we'll figure it out someday.
Excellent question. I think it deserves a larger discussion, maybe at DrupalCon, which is going to be in about 2 weeks. This is exactly what our development team is planning to do with one of our very active applications. It's a huge application. Rewriting it is extremely complicated. And so there are lots of front-end tools. There's like, you can write a React app that will give you all the beautiful, fresh theme and have Drupal 7 logged behind the firewall. Yes, definitely. Yes, that is one of the options. Whether people are talking about it, I don't know. It also doesn't really solve the community problem of lots of sites still being on Drupal 7. Because last year I spent as a project manager for GitLab Acceleration project with Drupal Association. And the goal is to give Drupal developer modern tools. So if we're trying to move issues to GitLab, so it's easier for people to move things, then everything has to be done also for Drupal 7. GitLab testing, everything. So this is why it is such a big deal for the community, because you're trying to, as I said, supporting legacy, where was it? Supporting both legacy and modern version indefinitely is a considerable overhead. And that's one of the big motivators to help to start this. Let's slowly start getting out of this building because it's going to be seismically unstable. Let's find the good solutions. And having Drupal 7 behind firewall, while it's fine for that site, is going to be safe, right? But then resources that people can spend contributing either to Backdrop or to Drupal Composer are going to be used somewhere else. And new features are not happening. We're not fixing, we're not moving forward. We're kind of stagnating in the same place, going in circles.
Yeah, understood. I was just curious, like, yeah, how common that is right now as far as people pitching that as a kind of bury your head in the sand a little bit and let's just protect ourselves, but punt down the road. I mean, I think you're that one site you're talking about that where it's very, very complex and it's going to take some time. I think it makes sense in certain situations where it might take 6 months to rebuild a front end or whatever, and you need to lock it down.
Yep.
When you're trying to migrate the back end.
Yep, totally. Anybody else want to, bring some subject? John, I know you guys have moved lots of sites of Drupal 7. Do you want to make a comment about it or not today?
Yeah, I've gotten embroiled in other projects, so I've had to put that on hold for now.
Okay.
I wonder, is there any market research that, like, I've been in lots of these things where there's lots of speculation about, the nature of these 400,000 Drupal 7 sites, and it seems like there's some surveying that needs to be done that we should find out, how complicated they are.
Yeah. I'm sure that there's lots of things that can be done. I think this presentation I wanted to keep very kind of community oriented and more like what's the initiative about, and less of for this specific presentation, less conversation about like what's the marketing effort, what can we do, how we can build successful campaign for people who are using Drupal 7 today. So this is a great question. I think maybe we can do a separate discussion on that because it deserves a full hour.
Mm-hmm. I mean, similar to what Kristen was talking about in terms of is there low-hanging fruit? We concentrated a lot on migrating fully fleshed out, complicated, much loved sites. Is there, and I put an issue about this actually on the D7 EOL thing. What about the somewhat loved ones? Is there a cheap way to get them someplace that's better than complete annihilation?
I don't have it. It's a great question. Yeah.
I guess you mentioned, getting help on the Backdrop upgrade status, or was it the other one? No, maybe
that's
it was
the other one.
It was the
Yes.
other one, the fancy tool.
Yes.
What do you need help with, I guess, in general for the initiative to get better?
Great question. Thank you so much for asking it. I should have put it in my slides and I'm going to add it right now. I'm going to share my screen. Hold on first. Give me 1 second. I need to open correct link in my browser. I need to go to soft. This is I think it's most visited page that I have on my browser. So this is the landing page. And this is initiative goals and scope. So this talks about what we're trying to do, what is happening. And then at the bottom in the very consistent way, we're saying these are things that we need help with. And so we have this very specific issue called, and it's not listed here, but it is called site audit, which I think is one of the huge showstoppers for people, because when they need to start, like, even when they need to start making decisions, they need to understand what is, like, what's happening with their site. Owners don't really, can't really sit there and they need, the site is supporting the business or organization. So people don't have time to look at what's going on at the back end of with their website. This is one of the things that I strongly believe will help people to begin looking in what's going on with my site, how much effort I need to do a migration. This is called site audit. Tomorrow we have presentation for John, who is site audit maintainer, about his vision of the future for the site. But one thing that would be extremely helpful, if we can build at least maybe not full-fledged, but at least some web UI for site audit tool for Drupal 7. It was originally developed by Pantheon to run on the Pantheon platform. And so the 7th version does not have web UI. For 8, 9, and 10, there is UI, and it's well developed. So it's just a matter of coding. There's no need to do like the full development process. Like, we don't know what we want. Don't know what, what to how to best visualize it. It's already in place. So we only need development help to build to add UI to existing module. That would be huge help. And so if, like, from my perspective, there are two major things that where this initiative needs help. One is for site building, and then this one is the module that I mentioned, to migrate for backdrop. There are 4 issues. I think this one was solved, but it still has some issues with connecting with database, and help will be tremendously appreciated. And Justin, hope to see you tomorrow at the presentation. And if community wants to put their heads together and make it happen, that would be fantastic. So Kristen, if you have time, a little bit of time to contribute, maybe do a joint working session, we'll be very grateful.
My thought process is, if there was a web UI for site audit for Drupal 7, it would also help out backdrop too, because then we could port that to backdrop.
Yep.
And that wouldn't be nearly as difficult as making the web UI.
Yep, that would be, so this is just like site audit at this point is very hot topic, and the session about it is tomorrow. So maybe if somehow people will get together and do a working session or contribution session, this is the session tomorrow, 11 o'clock. Please join us. Please join for discussion. I think one of the big things about initiative at this time is, like, we're trying to rock the boat, start people moving, start people think. So I'm doing at least baby steps, something. And then hopefully there will be more discussions at DrupalCon, and maybe more things will be happening, more avenues for making it all nice and smooth sailing.
And has anyone heard any other rumblings about moving or canceling the EOL? I know that has been a got moved, whatever. So I know it's something that's keeps kind of lurking in the background about, well, is it really UL this year?
There will be an announcement from the security team probably pretty soon.
Okay, cool. Good to know. Useful. Did we lose Irene? Oh, no.
No, I'm here. My internet is a little glitchy, so sometimes I'll just like. Go. So I guess if we don't have any questions and answers, we have two options. Option one is like, I want to thank everyone who came, contributed to discussion, and we can hit stop recording and end the session and end the day. Alternatively, we can hit button stop recording and start coding session right now. Let's vote option one or option two. I think we have a great team here already, right?
Uh-oh. I got to do my slides.
Excuses. All right. 11 o'clock tomorrow, we all just come, learn about site audit, code the module tomorrow, and then on Monday release it. How about that?
Sounds good.
You're a good project manager.
Thank you.